Okay, so this tutorial is going to get us set up with our first set of diagrams we're going to plug into our Revit project. So the first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to open up a new family, generic model. So just go family, Revit new family. And then if your system didn't load like mine, then you have to go hunt down some version of the generic template. For some reason, my metric stuff loaded. If it doesn't, then you guys can download stuff from the Revit site. And the same method that I used to get the Revit family from before. So generic model, I already have this open, so I'm just going to go ahead and start plugging stuff into it. You have a different ribbon menu than you would in the other stuff. So we're just going to come over here and insert some of the CAD stuff that we ported in here. And so you can see I have my robot here, and it's doing an autosave. And I've already animated all of the motion graphics that I'm actually going to be developing in here. And so we're going to be creating essentially a diagram showing how this thing moves. And so if you look at, I've gone through and actually got set up different layers showing how the arms are moving and how the legs are moving. And what we're going to be doing is all of the motion stuff we're going to actually be exporting as a DXF. And here, I'll just go ahead and unlock this layer so I can actually select things. I'll hold Control to deselect the legs. So if I take export, we're going to do arms moving DXF, hit save. Yeah, we'll go ahead and replace this. We're going to do arcs and lines. And if you go to edit schemes, you shouldn't really have to do anything, but the important thing to note here is I've modeled surfaces and I'm exporting them as curves. And so what that means is for all these, any isoform or line in here that you see is going to be rendered out as a curve in DXF. Okay, so I'll hit close and just hit OK. I don't need to rewrite that, so that's not going to be that important. So when I come in here, you'll also note that I've gone ahead and oriented my robot relatively close to the center of the file. It'll use that when it references that stuff in. So we'll go into our reference plan. You'll see the crosshair. We're going to go ahead and import CAD. And we'll go to Revit Robots, Components, and we'll go show all supported files here. And you can see that I've done the robot sans hands, without hands, because of the model that I converted out of the SketchUp format from before. I've discovered that has way too many poly surfaces for it to be cleanly imported. Essentially, it crashes Revit every time I go, so I'll have to come up with a separate way to import that in there, and I'll show you how I solve that here in a second. But we're going to go ahead and just insert the moving DXF here, and we'll hit open. This is quite large, so I scaled this thing up so that it's we could see the robot. Okay, so it's not going to be visible from this view because it's outside the clipping plane for the view, but if we go to front view, you can see there we go. Our guys are up, and then this is quite tall. My robot's like, I think I have it set at like 60 feet. When you guys import this stuff, it's important that you do these things in chunks at a time. Whatever chunk you're going to be editing, it comes in as essentially as a block instance of that geometry for intents and purposes. And so then we're going to go over here and we're going to manage our object styles, and we're going to adjust the imported object styles. And I'm going to go ahead and rename this. I'm just going to call this DXF, digital exchange file. And so we have our arms and we have this stuff. I'm going to go ahead and change the line color on this, and I'm going to set it to light gray here. Hit OK. And then I'm going to change this to a dashed line. Okay, and we're doing that all at once just by having each one of those selected. Now you have line weight, and this is scale specific, but for each scale that you have 16 options in here. So you guys, whatever you do, you're going to pay attention to that. So for this, I'm going to set it to line weight 2, since this is going to be my simulated motion in here. We'll go ahead and hit apply, and you see now that all these guys are dashed lines if I zoom in. So, and that's applied the appropriate weight. So what we're going to do next is we need to go ahead and check out where our line weights are. And so under additional settings, you're going to discover line styles and line weights. So we click on line weights. This will be the menu where you'll be able to adjust all the line weights in the document here. Okay, and so what we'll want to do is, if we look at the scale of 1 to 20 in this, we find 1 to 20, we can start to set the line weights in this. And this is in millimeters. If you guys are in inches, it'll be 0.003 or 0.001. And so 1 to 20 scale, our first line weight is going to be actually lighter than our second line weight. And so we can come in here and start to program this. So I'm just going to go ahead and set this to point. We'll call that 1 millimeter. It'll be relatively heavy. And then our second line weight we'll set as let's just 0.01. So hit apply, and it might give me an error because it's got a minimum of 0.025. And I'm not familiar with the metric system as well as I am with Imperial. So we'll go actually just set that to 0.9 and hit apply. Then we hit OK. Now that will adjust the line weight for this particular guy. Then what we're going to come in here and do, and we'll have to check this, I think, once we actually load it into our project to make sure that that carried over. But now we're going to go ahead and insert our different CAD block. Now it's important to note when I went through that, when I was managing these, when I was managing the object styles, I actually changed that 0. And that you need to do that when you're importing separate things from Rhino. It always defaults to name the layer 0. And so once you have these imported and they have the same object style, you can't differentiate between each one of those. Okay, so we got to adjust that before importing the next block. All right, so now I'll insert, import CAD, and I'm going to set this to the SAP file. And I exported this guy without the robot arms, so if I turn this off, toggle this off, and I'll just set that to the current layer and this off, I exported this view without the hands. So as a SAP file. Now that's actually going to be surface geometry. So when I hit open, there you go. Boom, there he is in the middle. Okay, so then what I can do is I can select him. It looks like my reference plane is a little bit messed up here. So let's go select everything, type MV to move. And I'll just grab a little reference point here. And actually I'll make sure I get everything in here, but that would be how you move it. Okay, from there, what we can do is, we again can go under Manage Object Styles. And we'll go to Imported Objects, and we can see that this came back here. And so we'll rename this as Robot Sans Hands. Okay. And we'll go ahead and just leave that as line weight 1 and solid. So hit apply, hit OK. And then what that will do for us, because it's surfaces versus lines, we can shade this. And you can see that the line work doesn't actually change. So that's really handy when we actually go to place our views. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our hands in here. Type unlock. Oops, and I gotta have that layer unlocked. And I tried to clean this up, but couldn't get everything to boolean. So just call this hands DXF. I already set that up. And so then we'll come in here and insert import CAD DXF hands. Oops, yeah, I forgot. Whatever view you're, you always want to place this stuff in reference line view for whatever reason. So insert import CAD hands. Yeah, I'll give you that warning again. Now we go in front view. There they are. And then we'll just MV. It looks like we're a little bit off. MV. That looks better. Now we'll say for now we'll have everything in there. MV. Let's go ahead and just move this up. Use our object snaps for a change. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this and insert it into the project. So we'll go load into project. I already have project 1 open here. And let's do we'll just hit Control Tab to cycle through my views. And it is let's go ahead and create a 3D view. Close that out so it doesn't ping us. It's a blank project. We don't have anything in here yet. Hit Control Tab to cycle through our views. And we'll just load this into the project. Hit OK. it's going to ask us to place this, and we'll just click right there. Now it's going to use that reference, the crosshairs. If you remember, those dashed green lines are the reference locations for that object, so it's going to use that to place the geometry. And so now if we go into our north elevation, we can see our robot has been placed. And this now behaves as one object. And so the family is completely connected in here. All right, and then from there, what we can do is that will enable us, if we take our elevations page, to, let's go ahead and just activate that. I'm going to take this and drop it on here. And we can dump the views on here. Now, this is kind of not what we want in a couple of different ways, right? And so what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and, first thing we need to do is we need to confirm our object styles. And so we're going to go over to Manage, Object Styles, Imported Objects. And it looks like it did maintain our line weight hierarchy here. So we have hands, geometry, sand, robot sans hands. And if we look at the scale of this, scale of these drawings, it's an 8th scale, right? We can set that scale if we want to adjust it. But then we can come over here under additional settings to check our line weights. And you can tell that they did not, in fact, carry over. So our line weight for what we want to be heavier is actually lighter than what we want to be lighter, if that made sense. So we'll go ahead and set this to 0.01, and we'll set this to 0.03. For line 1, it's 1 and 2 at 8th scale. And apply, hit OK. Should see that update. Okay, and so then what we want to do is we want to go back to our view, and I'm just going to go ahead and select this. And we have a bunch of extra stuff, all our annotations, things we don't care about in here. And so we're going to create a view template in the next tutorial, just because I want to make sure that we don't go over too much. But that's going to be essentially how you're going to set up and import and create some of the documentation families for your particular geometry.